Hello, welcome to Inside the Summit League. We've got a story coming up on the Jacobsons at North Dakota State. Good family story there. And the most famous man in the world makes a visit to Omaha. But first, a quick rundown to get you caught up on the week that was in Summit League basketball. And women first, Newitt. We went into the week with 4 teams at 4-1 in the league. We came out of the week with 3 of those teams at 6-1. South Dakota State and IUPUI were both 4-1 going into this game. The Jackrabbits beat the Jags in double overtime. Michael Rogers with 17 points, 11 rebounds for IUPUI. Ellie Thompson counters with 13 points, 12 rebounds for SDSU. Maddie Giebert was 0 for 8 in the game until she hits this shot with 6 seconds left, and South Dakota State wins 68-66 in double overtime.
Well, IUPUI did everything they could to try to win this game on the road. They hold South Dakota State to 38% shooting, great defensive effort. Just come up short. That would have been a huge win for IUPUI to start that tough road trip out that they had. South Dakota State kind of skating on some thin ice here and there. They've already lost one home game to USD. They almost lost the second one.
South Dakota State would follow up with a win at home against Western Illinois. IUPUI had to go to South Dakota 2 days later on Saturday. The Coyotes win that one 65-59 behind 24 points from Nicole Seekamp. So IUPUI drops to 4-3 now in the league. South Dakota stays tied for first at 6-1. And the other team hanging at the top right now is Oral Roberts. Another road win for ORU. They have won 3 league road games already in their first 7. They get 19 points from Kaylin Mayberry to beat Omaha 67-65. Oral Roberts goes home on Saturday. They beat Denver by 32. And Oral Roberts right now has one player, Kaylin Mayberry, in the top 22 in the league in scoring, but the Eagles are still 6-1 in the league right now.
They are getting it done as a team. And the big thing is they're winning close games, Tom. They've won 4 games in league play by 5 points or less, and they've come out on top in all those situations. That's why they're 6-1. The thing that's really impressed me is they're doing it on the road. They've really got some really nice road wins, and they've got a big home game this week against South Dakota State.
Meanwhile, in men's hoops, Omaha is still the story. The Mavericks are 6-1. They win twice on the road at Denver on Thursday. They get 29 points and 9 rebounds from Jake White in that game. And then a 6-point win at Oral Roberts on Saturday. Tradeon Hollins, 17 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 steals for Omaha. That is becoming a regular line for him, and Omaha's got all kinds of guys. They got 4 guys that could score 25 about any night out.
Yeah, they explode the stat sheet about every night. You need a lot of ink when you're printing the stat sheet for these guys because they can really fill it up. Points, rebounds, assists, steals. They're forcing turnovers on other teams. And they've got a recipe that's letting them now win road games. This was a tough road trip for Omaha. You got to go to Denver, got to go to Oral Roberts. That's a lot of travel. The Mavs come through it with 2 wins.
Omaha wins that one. Obi Emegano had 29 in that loss to Omaha. He continues to lead the league in scoring at 24 per game. Oral Roberts, though, is dropped to 3-5 right now in the league. So Omaha is 6-1, and then South Dakota State, IPFW, and IUPUI are all at 5-2 right now. IUPUI won at Fort Wayne on Saturday, 84-82. Darrell Combs with 20 for the Jaguars in that one. Marcellus Barksdale hits a layup at the buzzer to win it for IUPUI, and the Jags just keep hanging right in there.
They certainly do. To me, the surprise team, along with Omaha this year, has got to be IUPUI. They are winning close games as well. None bigger than this one this week. They win on the road at Fort Wayne, stay near the top of the standings, and they've got quality wins really, throughout this early season here in the Summit League. I think the big question for me is, they still haven't made the swing to the North Dakota States, the South Dakota States. How can they do in those games? If they can pull off a win at one of those places, it could really go a long way for them.
All right, IUPUI and IPFW both at 5-2, along with South Dakota State. The Jackrabbits win at Oral Roberts on Thursday and at South Dakota on Saturday. Redshirt freshman Mike Dahm, 23 points and 11 rebounds for the Jackrabbits. He is the men's player of the week this week. When we come back, we will check out the Super 6 so far this season in men's basketball. A half dozen guys who are getting it done halfway through the Summit League schedule.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn. Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Well, after Friday's games this week, we are officially halfway through the basketball regular season in the Summit League. At the end of the season, 6 players will make it onto the All-Summit League first team. And there is no I in team, but there is one in I. Thought it would be fun to take a look at the guys who are having a great season so far individually. This kind of started with you and Tyler Merriam up at SDSU talking about this, and then Greg Steeman and Jay Elson, our USD guys, got involved. But I think we agree on most of these candidates, but everybody, I think, agrees on Obi Omegano at Oral Roberts.
Yeah, to me, he's got to be the player of the year through the games that have been played this far. Again, just really the leader of this team. We saw how much Oral Roberts struggled without him in the lineup. Again, he's top 10 in the country in points per game, and of course leading the Summit League in points per game. 24 a game right now for Omegano. He had 29 at Oklahoma in one of the preseason games this year. He had 38 at Fort Wayne. So Omegano definitely on that first team. How about Devin Patterson at Omaha? Well, another kid that's really scoring the basketball at a high level, near 18 points a game, but he does a lot more for his team than just that, Tom. He really accelerates this team in their up-tempo style, really gets them out in transition. A great guy handling the basketball, and I think an underrated perimeter defender at times as well with his quickness. It's almost hard to stand out offensively on Omaha's team right now because you got Jake White as well, who's averaging 18 points and 7 rebounds. And he's doing a great job rebounding the basketball along with that too, and he's really becoming a complete player for this team in the post. To me, a big reason why Omaha has taken such big steps last year to this year is the play of Jake White and how much he's improved offensively. And Thurman is better, and they added Tradeon Hound, so Omaha's looking good. How about Max Landis at Fort Wayne? 23 points a game now that Mo Evans is not playing. With Evans out of there, Landis 23 points a game in the league. Yeah, very impressive what Landis has done, and he's really obviously had to pick up a lot of the slack without Mo Evans in the lineup now. And you know, he's kind of the marked man for Fort Wayne, but he is still producing. Love the way he shoots the ball from the perimeter and the toughness he plays with on the offensive end. Can you put a redshirt freshman on the All-Summit League first team? That's a great question because there might be 2 of them on there. We're going to talk about another one here in a little bit, but John Conchar from Fort Wayne, I think you can make a good case for what he brings to the table as well because not only does he score the basketball, he rebounds. He's leading the Summit League in rebounding as a freshman. And at 6'5", he's not this huge monster guy out there physically. The effort he plays with and the intensity he plays with, maybe second to none. Averaging 11 rebounds a game in Summit League games so far. He had 19 rebounds against North Dakota State. And speaking of the Bison, how about Corey Brown at North Dakota State? Well, he's really stepped into really becoming the leader of this team. And Paul Miller's still kind of their go-to scorer. But to me, Corey Brown is really the key that makes the Bison a good team because he's a great defender, great rebounder, and scores at a very high efficiency. He shoots over 50% and is also a great assist guy. So he really does a lot of things, not just points, but a lot of other things that make North Dakota State a very good team. We think there will be somebody from South Dakota State. It's just hard to tell right now. Jake Biddle is just back in the lineup. DeAndre Parks, Jordan Marshall. Mike Dahm is the other redshirt freshman you're talking about. Well, if I had to pick one off this team, honestly, my choice would be Dahm, and here's why. He scores with a great efficiency. He shoots over 50%. He rebounds the basketball. He's been very difficult for other teams to match up with. Parks and Marshall have had good years, but they're not scoring with a great efficiency. Both of those guys have had games struggled shooting. Biddle obviously has been injured, and if we're doing it at this moment, I think it would be hard to put Biddle on the first team. He's only played in a couple conference games so far. Dom, if you extrapolate the numbers out for 40 minutes, he would be right behind Obi Omegano in scoring for 40 minutes in Summit League games. A couple other guys, Darrell Combs from IUPUI, 17 points a game right now. Yeah, very impressive. I think he was not a guy that was really on the radar for anybody being in this conversation, but he is a big reason why the Jags right now are 5-2. And Western Illinois not playing very well right now, but Garrett Covington still out there at 16 points a game. And he's a player that you kind of forget about sometimes because Western has struggled, but he is a guy that can really hit difficult shots. Again, has to face the best defenders and kind of a team defense approach to try to shut him down, but still a consistent performer. Well, that is more of a top 10 than a Super 6, but definitely the candidates we think for all Summit League first-teamers by the time the season is over. And you said Obi Omegano for Player of the Year. We'll have that discussion a little later on as well. When we come back, who are the Super 6 so far in women's basketball? A Coyote from Australia is at the top of the list, and we'll talk about that when we come back.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn. Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Welcome back. Now to women's basketball and a look at our Super Six so far this season. The half dozen players who we believe are headed to all Summit League first team glory at the end of the year. And one of them is totes obvious, Newitt. That is Nicole Seecamp at South Dakota. She is already a two-time Summit League Tournament Most Valuable Player. She's having another outstanding season this year. 20 points a game in Summit League play and more than 6 assists per game in the league.
To me, that second stat is really what's really important, is because she really makes her team better. It's not just the points that Seecamp scores, Tom. It's how she gets her other teammates involved. She's a very unselfish player, and it's hard to say that you think someone's scoring 20 points a game, but she really is. She distributes the ball well, and she's also a really good defender. She gets her hands on a lot of basketballs, creates a lot of turnovers and steals. She's just a complete player, and I think we've seen how much she means to her team. Obviously, the road win at South Dakota State, I really felt like she willed her team to victory in that game. So she's got kind of that intangible as well, and she's certainly playing at a really high level.
If she would not give it up with those assists as much as she does, she'd be averaging about 30 a game right now. So Seecamp, definitely. You think there are probably 3 other 99.9% positives for all first team. Michaela Shaw at Omaha is one of them. Leads the league at 57% field goal shooting. She's averaging about 19 points a game.
Exactly, and it's that efficiency that she can score at that really, I think, puts her on this first team. I mean, she's the go-to scorer for Omaha. When they need a big basket, they're getting her the basketball, and she's really produced on a very consistent level as well. You look at the box scores, and she's putting up 15, 20 almost every single night.
She's just a junior who just went over 1,000 points in her career at Omaha. Another 99.9%er is Michael Rogers at IUPUI, 15 points, 7 rebounds a game right now.
And she's just been an anchor inside for IUPUI, a consistent score around the basket. And then you mentioned the rebounding. That's so important to them as a team. And then I think the other side that goes along with it that you don't see in the stats as much is just what she does defensively. She is really an athletic player, a rim protector for them inside that really makes them one of the best defensive teams in the Summit League, and I don't think that should be undersold.
And then Macy Miller at South Dakota State, 15 points, 5 rebounds a game. She's shooting 96% at the free throw line in the Summit League, just a sophomore.
And her shooting percentages have been a little bit down from where they were last year, but you look at like her points per game right on par where she was as a freshman, and she had a lot of expectations, I think, placed on her coming into this sophomore year, and maybe some of them a little bit unfairly. And she's obviously kind of the marked person when other teams game plan against South Dakota State. I think she's had a really good sophomore year here, despite having to really go against some really tough defensive play.
North Dakota State's Marina Whittle. She is the player of the week this week in the Summit League. She is averaging 18 points a game, leads the league in rebounds at 11 per game, and she's having a monster stat season, at least so far.
She really is. I mean, to my surprise, I didn't expect to see this out of her. I knew she was a capable scorer. She was a double-figure scorer last year for this Bison team, but she has really just taken over, hitting big shots for their team, rebounding at an unbelievable level for them as well. The only thing I would say about her a little bit is just the efficiency that she scores at. She has to take a lot of shot attempts to get those points, and if she could shoot at a little bit higher percentage, then I think that would really solidify her on the first team.
The other one in North Dakota State is Taylor Thunstead. NDSU's got 2 of the top 5 scorers right now. Thunstead's averaging 18 points a game as well, making more than 3 threes per game.
Yeah, she's shooting the ball from the outside very well, but has had some up and down games here of late. I think consistency for her in the second half could really go a long way towards North Dakota State kind of turning around what's been a rough Summit League season so far.
And then what about Paige Bradley at Denver? 16 points a game right now.
Another great shooter, but also battling some of those consistency issues shooting the basketball, but she's definitely their go-to scorer, and again has to go against a lot of defensive scheming and game plan to try to shut her down.
A couple other contenders. Kaylin Mayberry at Oral Roberts is kind of proven that you don't need a star right now. She's kind of their star at the moment, but Mayberry might be a candidate as well. Camilla Carter at Fort Wayne is having a good season, and Emily Clemens is having a good Summit League season right now, scoring 15 a game in Summit League games. So we will see when we get down to the end of the year, and that's our Super Six so far this season on the women's side. My thanks to Professor Brad Newitt. And coming up next on Inside the Summit League, two big things in Omaha in the last 2 weeks. One was a scoring milestone for a Maverick basketball player. The other was a visit from the POTUS.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn. Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Oral Roberts athletes turned in two of the best performances of the year so far in Summit League indoor track and field. Israel Nelson is the athlete of the week for the second time this season. He won the 60-meter hurdles at the Air Force Invitational. His time of 7.6 seconds is the best in the Summit League right now. Kristen Burnett of ORU is the athlete of the week for the first time in her college career. She won the triple jump at the Air Force Invite, went 41 feet 10 and a half inches. That is her career best for Burnett and the longest leap of the season so far in the Summit League. Well, there have been a couple of big occasions in Omaha over the past couple of weeks. One of them was this scoring achievement by Michaela Shaw. It happened January 7th against South Dakota State. Shaw goes over 1,000 points in her college career. She is just a junior, but Shaw is already in the top 20 in scoring at Omaha. She's in the top 15 in career rebounds, and Shaw leads the Summit League in scoring right now at just under 19 points per game. Well, the other big recent event in Omaha, a visit from the President of the United States. Barack Obama made a stop at Baxter Arena on January 13th.
Well, thank you so much. Go Mavericks. That's quite a place you got here. It's still got the new arena smell. A perfect spot for your hockey team to stage another run to the Frozen Four.
Pretty sure he was going to mention the basketball teams in Omaha too, but maybe he did, I'm not sure, but that was pretty cool. Up next, their mom was a great player at North Dakota State. He is a great player right now at North Dakota State, and his sister is going to join them at NDSU. It is a family tree deeply rooted in Fargo. That story coming up next.
Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Grand Falls Casino and Golf Resort, Dakota Land Honda, and South Dakota Corn. Inside the Summit League on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine and the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Finally this week, great story from Fargo on a mom and a son and soon a daughter who will continue a family tradition of excellence on the basketball court at North Dakota State.
There are a lot of adjectives you could use to describe the Jacobsons, but competitive has to be near the top of that list.
It's been competitive in wakeboarding and skiing and board games, and they're both very competitive.
Me and my sister and my mom would go over to Ben Franklin Middle School where she works.
Adrian would shoot on one basket and I would shoot at the other. And towards the end, after we were done shooting and going through our workout, my brother would play defense on me and like pick my pocket, or I'd go up for a layup and he'd just come and like block the crap out of me.
It's one of those things where I couldn't lose. I hated losing it. You know, you can't let your little sister beat you.
Competitiveness isn't the only defining factor for this Bison basketball family. They also inspire and support each other.
He's a huge role model to me. I look up to him, obviously, with the basketball aspect. He's given me a lot of help and a lot of pointers throughout my life, but also as a person. I look up to him, and as well as my mom and my dad. They're just people that I want to be like.
You know, it's been great seeing her grow up and become a better player, a better basketball player. And you know, she's always out there and playing hard, and she's always been that way, but now she's learning to, you know, compete smarter. She's playing at a higher basketball IQ level.
Both AJ and Sarah said there was no pressure from their family to join the herd at NDSU, but Sarah had to think about it a little bit longer before making her own decision.
When I first started looking at colleges, honestly, NDSU wasn't even in the picture for me. I had it in my mind that I wanted to go someplace else, away from like where my family went, away from Fargo. But as I grew older and I matured and I talked to my mom and my brother about it, I reconsidered NDSU and it became a legitimate option for me to go there. And with my final decision, it was between Illinois State and NDSU, and my brother talked to me, and I was still a little leery about going to the same college as my brother, and he said that he thought it would be really cool for him and I to both play at NDSU at the same time. Like, he'd be able to watch me, I'd be able to watch him. And so at the end, along with my mom, her influence on me, and my brother saying that, I felt that NDSU was the right choice for me.
She was pretty quiet about it. She kind of kept it to herself, and you know, I honestly never thought that she would go to NDSU. You know, it was one of those things I thought at an early age she just kind of, you know, wasn't into it. She didn't want to follow in her mother's footsteps. You know, she didn't want to do that kind of thing. But you know, I'm glad that she saw the light a little bit and, you know, noticed that it's not so bad being in town with your parents and having your family around to support you. And glad she found a fit for her. And you know, she had a lot of tough tournaments. She played a lot of AAU basketball, went around the country a lot, and you know, after traveling a lot like that, you find out that home is home, and you know, Fargo's always been home for us, which is a good realization.
Our thanks to Jason and Dara for that story, and a big game for AJ and his mates this Sunday. NDSU plays at IUPUI. You can see it on HTSN in Indianapolis or on ESPN3. See you next week.